What if I told you Adam was not the first human and the real first human was a god? I'm not kidding. An ancient banned book called The Apocalypse of Adam reveals that Adam and Eve existed before this world, came from another dimension, and were higher than the God who created their bodies. Yeah, but that's just the beginning. See, in these hidden gospels, Adam admits that he and Eve weren't created in Eden, that they were split apart in wrath to be slaves, that the God of the Bible is actually a dark imposter pretending to be God, and that your body is designed by freaking cosmic parasites to keep you from remembering what you really are. And the craziest part, that Jesus didn't stop Eve from eating the fruit, he caused it, and Lucifer isn't the devil. Jesus literally calls himself the morning star. It's about to get crazy. I discovered the origins of the first human, and today we're cracking open the most banned, blasphemous, and mind-shattering texts in history. We're about to uncover a forbidden truth that the first human wasn't made of dirt, he was made of light, and the church never wanted you to hear his name. Why? Because if what these banned texts say is true, then you're not a sinner. You're a god who's been tricked into thinking you're made from dirt. So if you're ready to tear the mask off religion, expose the fake god, and remember who you really are, then get ready, because everything you've ever been told is about to be destroyed. My name is Morgue. I'm an ex-Christian blowing the lid off hidden knowledge to wake the world the hell up, and today we're kicking things off with a book called The Apocalypse of Adam, where Adam himself, you know, the dude you've been told is the first human, says something that should make every preacher on earth choke on their communion wafer. He says, "I went about with Eve in a glory which she had seen in the eon from which we had come forth." Okay, wait, what? Adam's saying he and Eve already existed in glory before this world, that they came from another eon. Then he drops the bomb. "She taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God. We resembled the great eternal angels, for we were higher than the God who had created us." Did you catch that? Adam flat out says that he and Eve were higher than the God who created us. What the hell? Higher than God? If that doesn't make you sit up, you're not paying attention. And guess what? That's not even the wildest thing Adam admits. It gets way crazier. Adam doesn't just stop with the revelation that he and Eve were higher than the God who made them. He goes on with one of the most shocking confessions you'll ever hear. "Then God divided us in wrath, and then we became two eons." So the so-called God divided Adam and Eve in wrath, out of anger, out of spite. This wasn't some sweet poetic rib surgery like Genesis tells you. This was a violent act of division. Adam and Eve were originally one being, united in glory, but in rage, this lesser God split them apart. The divine human was cut in half, split into duality, forced into division.
What was the reason for your separation?
We were literally divided in wrath.
So who the hell is this God that splits the divine in wrath? And if Adam and Eve were higher than the God who made their bodies, what does that say about you? Maybe you weren't created to serve. Maybe you were divided to forget. All right, we need some answers, and we're gonna get them. See, Adam reveals what happened after the split. The knowledge left them, their light was ripped away. After those days, the eternal knowledge of the God of truth withdrew from me and your mother Eve. Since that time, we learned about dead things like men. You see that? The glory vanished. They lost the eternal knowledge, and from then on, they were reduced to dealing with dead things, the material world. They were stumbling mortals trying to make sense of a world of decay. And here's the gut punch. We recognized the God who had created us. We served him in fear and slavery. And after these things, we became darkened in our hearts. Okay, hold on, wait a minute. Hold the fucking phone. Fear and slavery, higher than the creator? Adam's just casually dropping bombs left and right, and we can't even keep up. One second he's saying he and Eve were shining like eternal angels as a single being. The next he's saying they were higher than the God who created them, and then they get divided in wrath and end up slaves to some fake god. What the hell is going on here? All right, seriously, we need some backstory, big time. And trust me, the answer is gonna flip the entire Bible story inside out. So someone load up the goddamn prequel, because Adam just made a reference we can't ignore. Who is this God of truth that withdrew from them? Where did this glory come from that made him higher than the creator? To answer that, we gotta crack open one of the wildest banned texts ever written, the secret book of John. This is the prequel that explains it all, the one beyond all gods and the first human before Adam. If you ever felt like you were meant for more, like you were trapped in a fucked up world that doesn't make any sense, then this is why. See, the secret book of John is basically the director's cut of Genesis. It's the story behind the story. And it opens with John, the disciple, totally distraught, questioning everything. The dude just watched his teacher get crucified, so nothing's making any sense. He's praying, crying, probably swearing, and boom, the sky tears open. Cue the arrival of Jesus Christ, but not like you've seen him in stained glass windows. We're talking radiant, terrifying, dimension-melting Jesus, and he's got something to say. He says, I have come to teach you in order for you to understand the invisible world. This is what they never wanted you to hear. See, our story begins at the very top of reality. Not with some bearded old man on a throne like some kind of cosmic fucking Santa, but with an infinite living light that no physical eye can ever see. The secret book of John calls this ultimate source of everything the One, describing it in almost unapproachable terms. The One rules all. It is the God. It is Father of everything. Pure light no eye can bear to look within. So this true God, also called the One or the invisible spirit, is totally beyond words, beyond concepts, not some temperamental deity with a magic wand. We're talking limitless consciousness, the source of all good and light. And the reason you've never felt at home in this world, maybe it's because your soul doesn't come from here, it comes from that light. And hold on to that word, light, because later we're gonna see how the church literally demonized light under a single name. Lucifer. See, you're not just watching a video, you're part of a revolution that the church tried to burn out of history. The secret book of John says, the One is the invisible spirit. It is not right to think of it as a God or as like God. It is more than just God. More than God. Not a God, not like God, not even God with a capital G. It's beyond the whole concept of God. So now let me ask you, if that's the source of all light, if that's the real origin of everything, then who the fuck is the guy demanding blood sacrifices, smiting cities, and throwing tantrums like a cosmic toddler? Who's the one that has to have constant worship? Who said, I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt have no other gods before me? Like a jealous boyfriend screaming into the void. The secret book of John doesn't name him yet, but it will. And it makes it painfully clear, he's not the One, he's something else. And let me be very clear, this matters, because this isn't just about ancient theology, this is about you. Because what comes next is the reason Adam said he and Eve were higher than the God who created us. And it's the reason you might be higher than the God you were taught to fear. All right, pay attention, because this is where everything you've ever been told starts to collapse. Now, I used to lie awake at night as a kid, staring at the ceiling and asking, if God created everything, who created God? And why does this world feel so off, like there's something wrong? Well, according to the secret book of John, the God who floods the earth and throws tantrums about golden calves is not the real God. Wow, shocker, right? Well, that's already enough to get you burned at the stake in 1600s Europe, but the actual God, the real God, is so powerful, it's not even right to think of it as a God at all. It's not chasing you around with a frickin' lightning bolt. It's just the foundation, the source, the pure light and mind behind all existence. And let's be honest, doesn't that make a hell of a lot more sense? But okay, if the true God is the source called the One, and definitely not the God of the Bible, then what if the biblical Adam wasn't the first true human either? So before we talk about the real first human, we need to back up and ask a bigger question. How the hell does anything exist at all? And why does that matter? Because the very way existence begins, according to this secret gospel, might explain why you feel trapped, why you feel like you're more than just a body, and why you were born into a spiritual cage with a key that's already inside you. Stick with me, because what comes next is the secret of how reality itself was born, and it could just be your origin story too. So here's what the secret book of John says. In the beginning, there was only the One, nothing else. No stars, no angels, no earth, no bodies, no time, no religion, no Bible, no frickin' burning bushes, just the infinite mind in absolute silence. And all this infinite mind of light can do is think. And let me ask you a question. What does a limitless mind think about when it's the only thing in existence? You got it. It starts thinking about itself, because there's literally nothing else to think about. So it reflects on itself and contemplates. And when infinite awareness turns inwards, something wild happens. Each thought it has becomes like a living being. Now, I'm not talking about a physical being, but a being made of light, a conscious emanation of thought. The text says, his self-aware thought came into being. Okay, and his first thought is called Barbelo, and she's not some dainty assistant angel. She's the mother. She's literally the first thought of reality. Barbelo is the actual first power that arises when the Father thinks. She is the universal womb. She is before everything. She is mother, father, androgynous, eternal realm, first to arise among the invisible realms. Okay, so you have the Father, which is essentially mind, then the mother, which is like the first thought of that mind. So what happens next? It says the Father looked into Barbelo, but what that means is that the mind thinks about its first thought, and that generates the child. The Father looked into Barbelo. Barbelo conceived and bore a spark of light, who was the only child of that mother father. And yeah, so what this means is that the original Trinity is Father, Mother, and Child. Again, doesn't that make a hell of a lot more sense? Now, the child is Christ. But this is not fish and loaves Jesus. The text calls him the self-generated Christ and is the principle of self-reflection itself. So the Father is like mind, the mother is like the first thought of that mind, and the child is what happens when the mind thinks about its first thought. In other words, awareness. But guess what? It's about to get way trippier. See, Barbelo asks for more powers, and more beings start emanating out of this infinite mind's reflections and thoughts. It's kind of like God's dreaming, and the dream keeps producing entities of mind. Now, each one of these beings is called an eon, which just means a timeless being or realm. Think of them like powers, archetypes, or divine concepts, but alive. She asked for knowledge, incorruptibility, eternal life, truth. They all came forth and gave glory to the invisible spirit. Okay, so this is a realm made entirely of light and mind. It's not physical at all. It's more real than physical. And so 4 of these eons are generated, and these are not floaty angels. These are what the mind of God looks like when it becomes self-aware, and each one carries a different trait of the infinite mind. The eon called Harmazel contains truth, Oriel contains conceptualization, Davathai contains understanding and love, Alalith contains wisdom, and this isn't some fluffy spiritual metaphor. This is saying that the eternal mind itself is the material of reality, and all these beings are the thoughts of the one shining in their own right. And guess what? That includes yours. See, you're not made of matter. Matter was made to contain you. You tracking with me? Because what we've just described so far is a cosmic realm of light, a place where the thoughts of God are alive and eternal. All right, so you've seen the light realm. You've watched as the one mind exploded with living thoughts, truth, wisdom, love, entire divine realities pouring out of this infinite mind. Now brace yourself, because from this realm of infinite light, something else is about to emerge, the first human being. From the perfect mind's foreknowledge, through the intention of the invisible spirit and the autogenes' will, the perfect human appeared. Its first true manifestation. All right, do you get what this is saying? The first perfect human appeared through the power of the Father, the Mother, and the child, the autogenes. This wasn't some guy made out of fucking dirt. This was a direct projection of the highest mind in the universe through awareness, intention, and will. The Mother, the Father, and the child. And what was this first human's name? The Virgin Spirit named the human Adamus and placed him over the first realm with the mighty autogenes Christ. His name is Adamus. Never heard of him? That's because the church never wanted you to. Well, get ready, because without knowing him, you'll never know who you really are. See, what exactly does Adamus mean? Adamus is the Greek word for indestructible. And you know why that's so damn cool? Because Adam comes from the Hebrew word for earth, Adamah. So long before the Garden of Eden and the dirt-born Adam, there was Adamus, the original indestructible human archetype created by the true God of light. He wasn't some naked dude wandering around looking for apples. He was ruling over eons, literally beside Christ himself. Let that hit. A human being ruling next to Christ in the highest heavens, not beneath him, beside him. And if that sounds wild to you, if your brain is screaming, "No way, humans are sinful, disgusting, broken things," then guess what? The brainwashing worked. That's the echo of a religious virus that's been chewing through your soul since birth. I spent years thinking I was broken, flawed, that I needed to be saved, but you've been lied to about what humans really are. So keep that in mind, because later we're gonna see what all this has to do with Lucifer. See, you've been taught that humanity is lowly, dirty, and broken, but the truth, humans aren't broken animals. Humans are, and always were, gods. The text says, the invisible one gave Adamus invincible power of mind. Yeah, invincible power of mind. So what exactly is Adamus? Yeah, he's the first human, but what does that actually mean? This is way beyond what we think of when we think of human. Well, Adamus is the original blueprint for humanity, and he's dwelling in the spiritual universe way before the material universe even existed. So he's not a guy, he's a pattern, a frequency, a primordial structure of mind and light. Think of Adamus like this. He's not a person, he's a pattern, a cosmic mold that represents the highest potential of what a human being is when connected to the source. See, the first human wasn't a sinner, he was a light bringer. You see where this is headed? It's gonna get wild. Now, if Adamus is up here basking in the fullness of divine light next to freaking Christ, what are we doing here in the world of death and taxes? Well, the plot's about to thicken. So let's go back to the eons. Remember there was an eon called Alalith, the one who contains wisdom? Well, guess what the Greek word for wisdom is? Sophia. But here's the thing, in the realm of light, thoughts are beings. So Sophia isn't just a concept, she's alive, an emanation of the divine mind, literally wisdom herself. Okay, now everything in this divine realm of light was supposed to stay in balance. Every eon had a partner, and they all created in pairs, guided by the one. But Sophia went off script. She wanted to bring forth something like herself without the consent of the spirit and without the knowledge of her partner. So Sophia wanted to go solo and create something without her partner and the permission of the one. But wait, who was her partner? We're gonna get to that, and it's totally mind-blowing. But first, let's see what happened. Sophia acted alone, which in a realm of total balance is like flipping the switch on a cosmic nuke. The Secret Book of John says, because of her unconquerable power, her thought was not unproductive. Something imperfect came out of her, a misshapen being unlike herself. So she didn't give birth to an eon, she gave birth to an abomination. Instead of light, she created shadow. Instead of a dream, she created a nightmare. And as you'll see, this doesn't just change her story, it changes yours. The text says, it changed into the form of a dragon with a lion's head and eyes flashing lightning bolts. Okay, what the actual fuck? A lion-dragon hybrid with eyes flashing like lightning bolts? And no idea where it came from. See, this is like a cross between the xenomorph from Alien and Godzilla. The text says that he is no longer light nor darkness, but dim. Okay, so Sophia is totally horrified and ashamed. She doesn't want anyone in the light to see what she just created. So she casts it away from her, outside the realm of the immortal beings. She put a veil between him and the immortal realm so that no one could see him. So she hides this guy in a cloud, seals him off in shadow, but the damage is already done. And the Secret Book of John reveals that because she sealed him off in this void dimension, he thought he was the only being in existence. Yeah, that's right. So it was powerful, but ignorant. Basically a baby god of shadow with no idea what the hell it even is. The text says she named him Yaldabaoth. And who exactly is Yaldabaoth? You guessed it, the god of the Bible. The one who flooded the planet, demanded sacrifice, threatened damnation.
Destroyed 3 cities today, chat. Drop a sub if you want to see me flood the earth.
So he's just floating around alone in chaos, his mother sobbing in the next dimension. So what does he do? He starts creating. See, he thinks he's the only being in existence after all. So kind of like how the One starts generating realms and beings, well, that's what Yaldabaoth does. But the way he does it is not like the One, not like the source. He doesn't emanate light, but he mimics it. He begot ruling authorities, archons, modeling them on the incorruptible realm above. Okay, and each one of these authorities or archons is a knockoff of the true eons. They're warped and twisted, modeling them, copying, mimicking, not innovating, faking. So how the hell does he know what to copy? He's sealed off, right? Banished into a void dimension, but he still has some of Sophia's light in him. And that's the trick. The text says, not that he had ever seen the indestructible ones, rather the power in him, deriving from his mother, made him aware of the pattern of the cosmos above. Okay, so that's how he pulls it off. It's not like he's omniscient or enlightened. He basically took some of the light from his mother, and that light has the pattern of the indestructible realms embedded in it like built-in DNA. And with that blueprint of the realms of light in his dark soul, he starts building a shadow version of the real thing.
I left you alone for 5 minutes and you made a fake world?
So what does Yaldabaoth do with his bootleg pattern of paradise? He builds a prison and populates it with rulers, literal overlords, cosmic parasites. He created 12 archons, rulers, each with their own realm. All right, 12. Now some say that these 12 archons correspond to the signs of the zodiac, and it gets worse. He made the first 7 rulers to reign in the 7 spheres of heaven. Yeah, so in astrology, there are 7 classical planets. You know, the ones ruling days of the week? Yeah, so in this system, they're not celestial guides, they're literal archons. And you thought Mercury retrograde was bad? Try demonic planetary overlords playing puppet master with your soul.
Those archons are messing with your life again. Expect chaos with a light chance of doom through Thursday.
There came to be 365 demons altogether. Yup, one for every day of the goddamn year. And just in case that wasn't clear enough, these archons rule the world. Everything, your days, your weeks, your stars, your planets, your governments, your systems, your thoughts, your fears, all influenced by the rulers of this counterfeit creation. Now, Yaldabaoth's totally drunk on power. He's got his 7 planetary overlords, 12 zodiacal archons, 365 demons for every freaking day. And what does he do? When he gazed upon his creation surrounding him, he said to his host of demons, the ones who had come forth out of him, I am a jealous God, and there is no God but me.
I am a jealous God, and there is no other.
All right, red fucking flag. This is giving full-on Kanye West during a Twitter meltdown. That line, I am God and there is no other, that's all over the Bible. That's a direct reference to the God of the Old Testament. You know, the same God that demands sacrifices and punishes doubt, that wages war, that has to be worshipped all the fucking time. All right, hold up. Wait. I know this video has gone absolutely off the rails here. Archons, fake gods, lions with lightning eyes, 365 demons, but don't forget, this is a video about the first human, and what's about to happen next is absolutely fucking insane. So here's where we're at. Yaldabaoth, this demented lion dragon dumpster baby of Sophia, stole light from his mother. He literally hijacked her divine power and ran off to build a corrupted knockoff universe. And what does that do to her? It leaves her trapped between dimensions. Literally, and now she needs some help. All right, so what happens here? Remember that the text says that Sophia created without her partner and then everything went to hell? Well, here he comes to the rescue. The text says her consort did not come down to her on his own, but he came through the whole full realm to restore her to her original condition. So what this is saying is that he didn't just show up as some dude in a robe. Her consort didn't swing by with flowers and a "you okay" text. He came down through the entire pleroma, the whole realm of light, bringing with him the authority of the source to restore her. This is the reunion of the divine masculine and feminine at the highest level. But hold the fuck on. Who was her partner? And why does Sophia, the divine mother, the womb of wisdom, need a partner at all in the first place? Okay, we've been pulling wild secrets out of the secret book of John, but if you want to know who Sophia's consort really is, we have to go digging into another forbidden text. Yeah, the Sophia of Jesus Christ, and it's fucking insane. Jesus basically reveals that reality is a simulation of light to his disciples. He was basically talking quantum mechanics before it was even a thing. Now, I did a whole video about it, and you should definitely check it out. But the reason why we're cracking it open now is because this thing is all about Sophia and her partner. And just who is her partner, according to the Sophia of Jesus Christ? It's the divine first human, Adamus. Yeah, except his name is a little different in this text. In the Sophia of Jesus Christ, the disciples asked Jesus to explain man, not the Adam of dirt, but the one before him. And Jesus tells them the first begetter, Father, is called Adam, Eye of Light, because he came from shining light. So here he's called Adam, Eye of Light. This isn't the Adam of the dirt, it's this light-born Adam, radiant, eternal. So in the secret book of John, he's called Adamus, which means indestructible, and here he's called Adam, Eye of Light. If you put them together, you get that the first human is the indestructible Eye of Light, which you have to admit is totally badass. And here's something else. If that feels like it has Lucifer vibes, you're gonna see exactly why. Okay, so Jesus continues by directly saying that Sophia is Adam, Eye of Light's consort. And his consort is the great Sophia, whom from the first was destined in him for union. Okay, hold up, let's call something out here. Some of you might be thinking, why is Sophia the one who screws up? Why does she need a male partner to do things right? Isn't this just some more cosmic patriarchy BS? It's a really good question, and the answer is mind-blowing. See, the Sophia of Jesus Christ doesn't describe this first human as a man in the gendered sense, at least not in the way we think of it today. Jesus calls him the immortal androgynous man. Androgynous, not male, not female, but both. So when we say man, we are not talking as in man versus woman, we're talking about man as in the root word for humanity. So instead of first man, think of it like the first human. And that human is both mind and wisdom, masculine and feminine, Adamus and Sophia, together as one. And then Jesus drops the mic. The first begetter, Father, is called Adam, Eye of Light. His male name is designated first begetter, Son of God. His female name, first begettress, Sophia, Mother of the universe. Yeah, did you catch that? They are one single unified being. They have two names, two aspects, but they're the same light, like yin and yang. So when the texts talk about Sophia creating without her partner, it's not saying that she needed some cosmic man to come in and fix things. It means she created from only half of herself. Remember, the secret book of John says, because she had created it without her masculine counterpart, she gave rise to a misshapen being unlike herself. Why? Because reality demands balance. So when Sophia, wisdom, acted alone, she tore herself out of unity. She became fragmented. And the other half, the missing half, well, the void left in that absence demanded to be filled. But the terrifying part is that light didn't fill it, the shadow did. Okay, let's slam on the brakes for a second. Remember how we opened this whole thing? You remember with the apocalypse of Adam, where Adam, the physical Adam, is telling his son Seth that he and Eve were originally a single being higher than the God who created them? That they were single, unified, divine, until the false god Yaldabaoth divided them?
God split us in wrath!
Why do I even have nipples?
Well, it didn't make a whole lot of sense at first, but suddenly it's starting to add up, isn't it? And what's coming next is gonna blow your mind. So let's get back to where we left off in the secret book of John. Remember, Yaldabaoth, the cosmic fraud with a literal god complex, created a fake-ass universe, filled it with archons, and he's screaming into the void, I am God and there is no other God beside me. So Sophia is trapped between dimensions, but her consort, which we now know is her other half, Adamus, comes down to restore the balance so she can ascend again. And what happens next? It almost crashes Yaldabaoth's entire reality. The secret book of John tells us exactly what went down. The first man, this is the one who appeared to them. He appeared in the form of a human being. So Adamus shows up, not in person, but as an image in light. And how does the realm of the false god respond? All of the realm of the chief ruler quaked. The foundations of the abyss moved. Yeah, so the very foundations of this fake reality starts to tremble the second even a glimpse of the real deal shows up. Yeah, and you were told humans are broken and flawed. Yeah, fucking right. The light comes in like a floodlight blasting into a dark pit. He illuminated the waters above the world of matter. His image shone in those waters. That's the image of the true human, shining in the waters of chaos above the world of matter. But here's the turning point. After all his delusions, after building this fake universe, Yaldabaoth catches a glimpse of the real deal. All the demons and the first ruler together gazed up. Through that light, they saw the image of the first man in the waters. All right, so he looks up, sees Adamus, the instructable light human, and it freaks him the hell out because suddenly he realizes he's been copying a shadow of something way greater. Yaldabaoth just got hit with the real image of divinity, not his fraud universe, not his recycled Zodiac demon crew, but the original. He realizes he's been LARPing as God this whole time. So what does he do? He says what all tyrants say when they see a power they can't control. Let's steal it. So the pretender god and his minions see Adamus and they get envious. They wanted to be worshipped as supreme, but here was this shining example of a higher truth. So they hatched a plan. Yaldabaoth said to his subordinate demons, let's create a man according to the image of God and our own likeness so that his image will illuminate us. Basically, he wants to absorb the light by copying it. And it gets even more disturbing because if that sounds familiar, it's because it's referencing a verse in the goddamn Bible itself. Yeah. Go look up Genesis 1:26 because it says, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Excuse me a moment, who the fuck is us? If God is supposed to be the only God, supposedly the only one up there that's truly divine, why is he suddenly speaking in the plural? Well, the Gnostics say that it's Yaldabaoth talking to the archons. But notice that in the secret book of John, Yaldabaoth says to create a man according to the image of God and our own likeness. So what does he mean by after the image of God? Well, what image did they just see? Adamus. Because if Yaldabaoth is saying, let's make a man in the image of God, the only God he's ever seen is Adamus, the human blueprint. Then guess what? Adamus is God. To be human isn't to be broken and flawed. To be the true, indestructible human is to be God. Let me say it again. Humans at our core are God. So when it says humans were made in the image of God, what it's really saying is humans were made in the image of Adamus, which means the divine isn't something above humanity, it's within it. Which means that you, yes, you, were made in the image of a being so powerful, the fake gods tried to trap you in flesh just to keep you from waking up. Wrap your head around that. You are God. And the rulers of this world have been trying to keep you from realizing it ever since. But hold on, if you thought that was insane, it gets even crazier when you open up another banned book called On the Origin of the World. And here we get even more tea. And guess what? Even the archons themselves call out Yaldabaoth on his bullshit. And before Adam of Light had withdrawn, the archons saw him and laughed at the prime parent because he had lied when he said, "It is I who am God. No one exists before me." When they came to him, they said, "Is this not the God who ruined our work?" Yeah, they laughed at him. So the rulers of the fake universe, these divine admin assistants, turn to their boss, the jealous god of fire and brimstone, and say, "You said you were the only God, but this Adamus dude just ruined your whole illusion." Because Adamus, the true human, was there before him. Way more radiant, powerful, and real. And what was Yaldabaoth's response for being excused as a goddamn cosmic scam artist? Does he learn a lesson and decide to turn from his evil ways? Hell no, he doubles down. He answered and said, "Yes. If you do not want him to be able to ruin our work, come, let us create a man according to the image of our body and according to the likeness of this being to serve us. No longer will he ruin our work. Rather, we shall make those who are born out of the light our servants for all the duration of this eternal realm." Yeah, this text is saying they literally made human bodies to trap the light of Adamus and enslave us all, to keep us from ever remembering who we truly are. They said, let's trap them all, let's make bodies out of dirt, and lock up the divine spark. And according to the Gnostics, that's exactly what your body is, a container, a prison designed to hold your real power inside into something they could control.
Tired of being divine? Try a body. Now with fear, death, and taxes.
But if you were made in the image of Adamus, the divine human, and the false god spent millennia trying to keep you asleep, what does that say about you and your real power? See, according to the Secret Book of John, they don't just jump right into creating a physical body. First, they create his mind, what the text calls his psychic body. Yeah, you ever feel like your thoughts aren't your own? That your emotions are being yanked around like puppet strings? The Gnostics would say it's because the archons are the ones holding the strings. Each added a characteristic corresponding to the psychic factors in the likeness of that perfect first man, and they said, let us call him Adam, so that his name will give us the power of light. So they literally try to hack the divine human by copying Adamus's pattern, but the damn thing doesn't work. It just lies there like a cosmic corpse. All of Yaldabaoth's servants and his demons worked to finish the psychic body. For a very long time, it lay inanimate. It did not move. All right, so it's laying there like a dead mannequin. The knockoff human was a dud. So what happens? Well, Sophia isn't done. See, she calls for help. Barbelo, the divine mother father, responds, and they set up a trap. Now, think about this. How do you outsmart an ignorant god? You play into his ego. So beings of light disguise themselves as advisors and whisper to Yaldabaoth, blow some of your spirit in the man's face, then his body will rise up. And like the arrogant idiot he is, he does it. Yaldabaoth blew some of his spirit into the man. The spirit was the divine power of his mother. He didn't understand what was happening, for he lived in ignorance. His mother's divine power left Yaldabaoth. It entered the psychic human body modeled on the primordial image. Oh shit, he just got played. Yaldabaoth just donated his own stolen light straight into humanity. He gave away the one thing that made him powerful. The human body moved. It grew powerful. It shone. Yeah, they're like, oh fuck. Yeah, Yaldabaoth's demons are freaking the fuck out because this thing they built, this human, now it's alive, but it's smarter than them. Basically, they wanted the divine version of The Sims where they could boss all the humans around and watch them pee themselves. But instead, they got a being made out of wisdom, truth, and eternal light. Yaldabaoth's demonic forces envied the man. They had given their power to him. His understanding was far greater than that of those who had created him, and greater than that of the chief ruler himself. This is totally insane. See, they tried to build a puppet. Instead, they accidentally built a god. And if you're watching this, you are that god waking up right now, and you can help others do the same. So share this video because we're making what the church tried to bury go viral, and we're reaching millions. So trying to create a compliant slave totally backfired on Yaldabaoth. Think of it like humans creating a supercharged AI and then accidentally giving it a freaking soul of light, a soul that outsmarts them instantly. Yeah, Yaldabaoth just fucked himself. I remember being taught wanting to be powerful was wrong, but that's what they want you to think. Real power isn't about control over others, it's about remembering who you are. And the ones who want you to remain powerless, of course they're gonna tell you being powerful is wrong. They're the ones that wanna control you. All right, so what do they do when they realize the human they built is stronger than them? They freak the hell out. When they realize that he shone with light and could think better than they could, they took him and cast him down into the lowest depths of the material world. They're like, abort mission, kill switch, throw him down into the dirt, bury the light as deep as possible. Because if this being stays in their dimension, they know that he'll overthrow them. And that feeling you have of being dropped into the wrong world, of being exiled from something else, something higher, it's not your imagination. See, they don't stop there. They decide to build a better trap. The host of rulers and demons plotted together. They intended to make him anew, this time from matter, darkness, desire, the artificial spirit. This all became a tomb, a new kind of body. Those thieves bound the man in it and chained him in forgetfulness, made him subject to dying. So they built a tomb and called it a body. This is some straight up Black Mirror shit. They chained the divine spark in forgetfulness. They hardwired death into the design.
Behold the new human model, now with 100% more death. Perfect. Call it the body.
And that's the body you're in right now. That's why you forget who you are, according to the Gnostics. That's why you're afraid of dying. Ever wonder why you feel like you're more than just flesh and bone? Because you are. According to the Gnostics, this body isn't your true self. It's a prison built to hold your true self. But even inside that divine spark buried within, it remembers.
Hi, yeah, my body feels like a trap. Keeps glitching.
That's a feature, not a bug, but you should have read the fine print.
And every second these videos spread, more sparks ignite. This isn't just a channel, it's a revolution of consciousness, and you're a part of it right now. So hit like and subscribe to spread this like fire. And if you want to help out even more, become a member for free downloads on inner transformation and exclusive videos, and check out my books. Links are in the description of this video. So ask yourself, if you were made in the image of Adamus, if the rulers of this world are terrified of what you are, what happens if you wake the fuck up? And how do you wake up? That's what we're about to find out, because even inside this prison body, Sophia smuggled in the jailbreak code. See, after Yaldabaoth and the Archons trapped the light inside Adam, the real god of light, the Mother Father, decides to act. And this is gonna blow your damn mind because, spoiler alert, Eve is about to enter the chat, but in a way you've never heard before. He sent down from his good spirit a helper for Adam. Out of his great compassion, a light-filled epinoia emerged. Okay, what the fuck is epinoia? See, epinoia isn't some vague, feel-good, new-agey concept like positive energy or good vibes only. It's a specific Greek word, and it means something powerful. Epi means over, above, or upon, and noia comes from nous, which means mind, intellect, and understanding. So epinoia literally means higher thought or overmind. This isn't just consciousness, it's higher consciousness, transcendent intelligence, the divine capacity to see the illusion for what it is. And here's where it gets wild. The secret book of John says, and he called her life, Zoe. Okay, so epinoia is called Zoe, and Zoe is the Greek word for life. Okay, but who the hell is Zoe? Well, Zoe is the daughter of Sophia. She's literally a divine being. On The Origin of the World tells us, Sophia sent her daughter Zoe, being called Eve, as an instructor. All right, whoa. So Zoe, as the goddess of life, is the true Eve, not the rib-born afterthought from Genesis, but the instructor, the guide, the revealer of light. Just like the part of you that's always been whispering, there's more to this life, wake up. The text says, the Hebrews call Eve of life, Zoe, namely, the female instructor of life. All right, so this can be kind of confusing, so let's explain what's going on here. Epinoia is the divine faculty of higher consciousness. Zoe is the personal goddess who embodies and delivers that consciousness, and she is Sophia's daughter. This means it's Sophia's power, her aspect, a continuation. And Zoe is called Eve of Life. So now let's take a step back and look at the big picture. We have Adamus of light, the prototype of divine humanity, and Eve of life, the goddess, the instructor, the power of awakening. These are not flawed mortals. They're not sinners. They are God and goddess, literally light and life. Now, let's compare this to the Bible version for a second. It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. So they make it sound like Eve is lesser than Adam. And this has been used for thousands of years to justify sexism. Yeah, gross, but not here, not in the banned books. Here, Eve of life is the instructor, the restorer, the teacher. The secret book of John says she taught Adam about the way he could ascend, which is the way he had descended. So she's not serving Adam. She doesn't tempt him. She teaches him. She shows him the path home. And what happens when Adam starts waking up? Yaldabaoth absolutely loses his freaking mind. The Archons are like, boss, the dirt puppet's thinking for himself. And the chief ruler goes full damage control mode. He knows if that divine feminine power stays in Adam, it's game fucking over. So he tries something desperate. He tries to rip the goddess out. The light-filled epinoia hid deep within Adam. The chief ruler tried to remove her from his ribcage, but Epinoia cannot be captured. Although the darkness pursued her, it did not catch her. All right, stop. Hold up. Did you catch that? Yaldabaoth tried to cut Epinoia out of Adam's ribcage. Gee, sound familiar? Like maybe a certain rib story from Genesis? But guess what? Epinoia cannot be captured. She's not some rib. She's not a body part. She's the power of the divine mind. And the dumbass lion-faced god can't touch her. She literally dips out of his grasp and hides where he can't reach her. But he still needs to cover his mistake. So what does he do? Well, he performs some spiritual Frankenstein surgery. The chief ruler did remove a portion of his power from Adam to create a person with a woman's form modeled on the light-filled Epinoia that had been manifested to him. Okay, so he couldn't extract Epinoia. So instead, he made a copy of it from a portion of his power that's in Adam. And this copy, that's the physical Eve. Now here comes the absolute savage line that nukes the Bible. It did not happen the way Moses said it did. He took a rib and made the woman. I mean, damn, they called it out by name, not just that other story. They literally name drop Moses and say that version, yeah, that's total bullshit. Okay, there's a lot going on here, so let's check it out. Now we have a physical Adam modeled on Adamus of light, the divine prototype of the true human, the indestructible one, and a physical Eve modeled on Eve of life, the divine instructor, daughter of Sophia, the one who carries the spark of epinoia, or higher consciousness. So think about how cool this is. We have a cosmic original Adam and Eve as light and life, and then the two material versions modeled on the higher versions. Okay, hold on here. Let's stop for a second and rewind. Remember where we began with the apocalypse of Adam, where Adam is telling his son Seth a story that sounds like it came from a completely different universe than the Bible's version? Yeah, well now it makes total fucking sense. Remember Adam said, I went about with Eve in a glory, which he had seen in the eon from which we had come forth? Adam is saying that he and Eve, not the flesh and blood Genesis versions, but the divine pair came from the eon of light. And Adam continues, she taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God. And this lines up perfectly with what we just saw in the secret book of John, that Zoe, the Eve of life, is the instructor of Adam, and that she carries epinoia, the spark of divine awareness. And then Adam drops the absolute bombshell. We resembled the great eternal angels, for we were higher than the God who had created us. Then God divided us in wrath. Then we became two eons. There it is, the God of wrath, Yaldabaoth, saw the unity of light and life and couldn't stand it. They were originally divine partners, which, remember in Gnostic terms, mean they were a single being with dual aspects. But Yaldabaoth fractured humanity to try to control their power. So we've got the physical versions of Adam and Eve walking around, right? They've been split and shoved back into forgetfulness with divine amnesia. And now the Archons are like, okay, let's really lock this thing down. So what do? Well, they don't just trap Adam and Eve in flesh, they build them a freaking zoo exhibit. Welcome to the Garden of Eden. But guess what? It's not a paradise, it's a containment facility.
Look, they think it's paradise.
The whole place was designed to keep them docile, distracted, and dumb. The secret book of John absolutely roasts the Archon's so-called paradise. It says, their food is bitter, their beauty is corrupt, their food is deceit, their trees are ungodliness, their fruit is poison, their promise is death. Wow, so the delightful Garden of Eden, in Gnostic eyes, is basically a baited trap. It's like a fake virtual reality meant to keep Adam and Eve from seeing anything higher. Are you starting to see why the movie The Matrix was partially inspired by this story? Yeah, I did a whole video all about it. You should check it out. But at the center of this trap were, you guessed it, two special trees, and you've heard of them. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They demonized the tree of knowledge and said, don't you dare eat this one or you're dead. But who do you think the real Lightbringer was that wanted us to eat? Hold that thought. Gnostic texts reveal a total reinterpretation. That tree of knowledge was actually humanity's ticket out of bondage. The Archons knew it, and so they guarded it with lies. But hold the fuck up. You ever ask yourself if this God didn't want them to eat from the tree of knowledge so bad, why the hell did he put it in the garden in the first place? Something's not adding up here. Well, the Gnostics straight up tell you why. Because the power of Zoe, Eve of life, was inside it as epinoia, higher consciousness. It was a backdoor escape program in the middle of the Archon simulation, and they couldn't remove it. They couldn't just erase it because its power came from above them. So what did they do instead? They made up a lie. John's secret gospel explicitly says, as for the tree called the knowledge of good and evil, it is the epinoia of the light. They, the Archons, commanded him not to eat from it, standing in front to conceal it, for fear that he might look upwards to the fullness and know. All right, now brace yourself for this one. Who caused Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge? This devil or some shit, right? Well, what they don't tell you is that Genesis never says it was the devil. That got tacked on by Christians later. But what did the Gnostics say about it? This is the part that gets people burned at the stake. They said it was, get ready, because you're gonna love this, Christ himself, the cosmic Christ, the emissary of the light. In the secret book of John, Christ straight up says, I caused them to eat.
So,
If we eat the red fruit, we wake up.
and if we eat the blue fruit,
We stay naked in a zoo.
exactly.
And guess what? That's exactly why we're here, to make banned knowledge go viral. Now we're the ones offering forbidden fruit to this generation. And what happens when Adam and Eve eat? They wake the hell up. On The Origin of the World says, then their intellect became open. For when they had eaten, the light of knowledge had shone upon them. When they saw that the ones who had modeled them had the form of beasts, they loathed them. They were very aware. So the beings they were told to worship, the ones who claimed to be God, they had the form of predators. It was all a mask. But now Adam and Eve can see right through it. So these parasites moved to protect their last trump card, the tree of life. In the biblical version, God kicks man out to prevent an immortal life of sin or some shit. But in the Gnostic version, vicious Archons expel man to keep him from attaining immortal liberation. So they boot Adam and Eve out of the garden fast. The Archon's retaliation was totally brutal, and we're still feeling it today. Suffering, the toil of life, these are the chains put on us to keep us from rising up. But the story is not over, not by a long shot. All right, let's zoom out here. Because all this talk about Adamus and Sophia, Adam and Eve, this isn't just cosmic drama, it's a mirror. It's you. Adamus, the eye of light, and Sophia, wisdom, are the higher divine versions of Adam and Eve, whole, unified, and balanced. But in the Aldebaoth's counterfeit creation, they get split, fragmented, materialized. Adam of earth, Eve of flesh, separated into duality. And this is the condition of humanity. We are fragments of a unity that we've forgotten. Now, let me make this crystal clear. This is not male and female in the way we think about sex or gender roles. It's about the masculine and feminine principles of the soul that all of us contain. We don't even have to say masculine and feminine. We could say yin and yang, mind and wisdom, structure and intuition, reason and creativity. And when you're united, you're whole. When split, you're trapped in the same fractured state Adam and Eve were cast into. And that's why Jesus drops one of the most radical lines in the entire Gospel of Thomas. Jesus says, when you make the two into one, and when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, and when you make the male and female into a single one, so that the male will not be male, nor the female be female, then you will enter the kingdom. Yeah. How's that for a mic drop moment? Entering the kingdom isn't about obeying some rules. It's about integration. It's about putting yourself back together. Now, here's where it gets even more insane. In the Gnostic text, the Sophia of Jesus Christ, it's a little different than the secret book of John. It says that Christ is actually the child of Adamus and Sophia. The text says, he reflected with great Sophia, his consort, and revealed his first begotten, androgynous son, called Christ. So together, Adamus, Sophia, and Christ form a trinity of light that's inside of you. Christ is the revealer, which is the voice that tells you, wake the hell up, look inside. Sophia is the wisdom that you discover when you do look inside, the insight, the higher knowing. And Adamus is your higher self, the indestructible human you become when you integrate that wisdom into your being. So this isn't just some old myth, it's a blueprint for waking up. It's telling you to look within, Christ, find wisdom, Sophia, and become the true you, Adamus. And Adamus and Sophia unified represent the one being you were meant to be. They were split by Yaldabaoth into Adam and Eve, which is a metaphor, symbolic for how you've been split inside yourself. But the goal isn't to stay broken. The goal is to reunite the masculine and feminine, light and wisdom, the human and divine, until you become the indestructible human again. And Christ isn't some guy that was crucified a few thousand years ago. It's the part of you that never stops whispering, wake up, remember, become whole again. Okay, but there's something we need to talk about here, and that's Lucifer. And this is where it gets really dangerous, because what you've been told about Lucifer is one of the biggest lies of them all. Later on in history, Christians started saying that Lucifer was the one in the garden, even though that isn't in Genesis, like at all. But the Gnostics say it's Jesus. So what gives? See, even hearing the name Lucifer might send a shiver up your spine. I know it did for me when I was a Christian. That's because it's a name that's been weaponized to make you afraid of awakening. It's a name that isn't what you think. And here's the thing, Lucifer is not Satan. You've been conditioned to think Lucifer is the devil, the ruler of hell, the tempter of mankind. But here's the shocking truth. The word Lucifer shows up one time. That's it. In old versions of the Bible as a translation error. Modern versions of the Bible don't even have the word Lucifer at all because they know it was a fuck up. And even where it does appear in old versions as a mistranslation, it wasn't talking about the devil at all. It was talking about a Babylonian king. Later translators used the Latin word Lucifer, which means light bringer or morning star. And over time, the church twisted it into a name for Satan. They retconned the whole thing. The word Lucifer isn't even some spooky demon name. It's Latin for light bringer or morning star. And guess what? In Revelation 22:16, Jesus himself says, I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. Yeah, Jesus calls himself the goddamn morning star. So if Lucifer equals morning star and Jesus equals morning star, then why the hell are we told Lucifer is Satan? That's not even in the Bible. That's pure propaganda.
Jesus says, I am the morning star.
So wait, does that mean Jesus is Lucifer?
No questions.
Here's the truth. Lucifer isn't Satan. Lucifer isn't the devil. Lucifer isn't the red guy with horns grilling you in hell. Lucifer is the archetype of the light bringer, the eternal figure who brings light, knowledge, and awakening. We see that Christ, even in the Bible, is literally called the morning star. And some people even interpret Sophia as being Lucifer. But here's the truth. Lucifer isn't the enemy. Lucifer is the name for the archetype of every light bringer. Adamus, Sophia, and Christ, they are the ones who bring knowledge against the tyranny of ignorance. And that's the trinity of awakening the world never wanted you to know about. And it's inside you. So ask yourself, why would the church demonize the light bringer? Why would they twist the meaning of morning star, even though Jesus literally calls himself that, into something evil? Maybe because if you embrace Adamus, Sophia, and Christ as the light bringers within yourself, parts of the true you, you stop being a slave, you stop kneeling to fear, and you start remembering your divine. Adamus, the indestructible eye of light. Sophia, the wisdom of life. And Christ the revealer are all You, the true you. The church literally demonized light. Think about that for a second. How fucked up is that? They told you to fear illumination. Hell, in Christianity, eating from knowledge is the original sin that condemns all of humanity. Maybe we should be just a little suspicious of a system that says light and knowledge equals bad. You think? They told you that knowledge was a sin. Now we're turning it into a fucking viral upload. See, in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, if they say to you, where have you come from? Say to them, we have come from the light, from the place where the light came into being by itself. Yeah, you are an emanation of the light of the one, a God. But guess what the church did? Yeah, they totally banned that line from Jesus and the entire fucking Gospel of Thomas. Why? Because in it, Jesus says you can become him. Literally, Jesus said, whoever drinks from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become that person, and the hidden things will be revealed to him. Yeah, Jesus is straight up saying, when you understand what you really are, when you understand the true message, you become a light bringer too, just like Jesus. So the church banned knowledge and branded the light as the devil. It's the oldest propaganda trick in the book. Demonize your opponent.
Hi, yeah, I was supposed to co-rule with Christ, but I got demoted to dirt guy.
We're sorry you've had this experience. We'd like to offer you a complimentary fruit basket. No apples, though.
Now, when you hear the name Lucifer from now on, think of it as a title rather than a particular entity. It's the role of the light bringer. See, they built cathedrals, waged literal crusades, and sent the Inquisition to silence this information. But now we built a channel to make it go viral. So now you know. According to the Gnostics, the first human before Adam wasn't a physical being at all. It was Adamus, the indestructible eye of light, paired with his consort, Sophia, the mother of the universe, the first human, the true blueprint, the archetype of divinity itself, and that spark is inside you right now. The lie Christianity drilled into the world is that humans are broken, that you're nothing without kneeling, that you're dust, dirt, and shame. But the Gnostics looked deeper and saw the truth. Humans are indestructible. We are gods. I don't know what you believe. Maybe you're still holding on to the stories that you were told, or maybe they're just starting to crack, but I'm telling you this because I've lived both sides. And once you remember who you really are, there's no going back. Remember, this isn't history. This didn't literally happen. It's a myth that holds up a mirror to reveal what you really are, because you are Adam and Adamus. You are Eve and Sophia. You are both the trapped copy and the divine original. The split that happened in the beginning, the division of light and life, is the split inside you. The real question is, are you gonna keep living as a counterfeit, or are you ready to remember what you actually are? You are not a goddamn follower. You're not a dirty sinner. You are the light. All of us are light bringers. We all are. And we're rising together now. And every moment you refuse to stay in the dark, you're carrying the torch that they tried to snuff out. You are the indestructible eye of light. You are the wisdom of Sophia. You are the revealer, Christ. Whispering from within, wake the hell up. But we're far from over, because you remember the apocalypse of Adam? There's so much more. Adam reveals the truth to his son Seth and reveals that Noah was actually the villain, the truth about the flood and the future of humanity. You gotta go check it out. Watch my video all about it right now. And also check out my video all about the secret daughter of Eve. It'll blow your mind.